Every day in the United States, an average of 36 people die in drunken driving crashes.
In Wisconsin alone, drunken driving killed more than 200 people last year. That's fewer than most previous years, but it's still more than 200 lives lost. So some say it's time lawmakers get serious about cracking down on drunken drivers in Wisconsin. Lawmakers say they're trying to do just that. The Senate approving today a slightly tougher drunken driving law. Fox 11's Robert Hornacek tonight takes us inside drunken driving with another look at how some people are trying to change the laws and the Wisconsin culture.
On average in the U.S., 3 people are arrested for drunken driving every minute. Every hour, someone in the country is killed in a drunken driving crash.
We're killing each other, and we got to stop this.
In Wisconsin, where 42,000 people were convicted of drunken driving last year, lawmakers are poised to do something about the problem.
I think that this is going to be a significant first step.
But some say the legislature is part of the problem.
My big cry now about legislators is they have 2 priorities. The first is to get elected. The second is to get reelected.
Paul and Judy Jenkins have spent the last year and a half working to toughen Wisconsin's drunken driving laws. Back in April of 2008, their daughter, Jennifer Bukowski, her unborn child, and her 10-year-old daughter, Courtney Bella, were killed in a crash in Oconomowoc by a man who had already been convicted of drunken driving 3 times. This time, Mark Benson did not have alcohol in his system. He had something else.
He was high on prescription drugs.
Benson was convicted of 3 counts of homicide by intoxicated use of a motor vehicle. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Just 2 days before the crash happened, Benson had pleaded guilty to his 3rd drunken driving charge.
How can we avoid or prevent other families from experiencing what we've experienced? Because that phone call is really a parent's worst nightmare, and it is a nightmare.
The answer in their eyes is to strengthen the state's drunken driving laws.
This is crazy in this state. We have to change. We have to change the culture about drinking and driving.
The question is how.
We are looking at the first meaningful, comprehensive reform of this state's drunk driving laws in more than a generation.
Democrat Tom Nelson is the majority leader in the state assembly. He's touting a plan making its way through the legislature, which focuses on repeat offenders and drivers with high blood alcohol levels. The bill would make a 4th offense, drunken driving, a felony in some cases. Right now, it's not a felony until the 5th offense. The bill would also require ignition interlock devices for all repeat offenders and for first-time offenders with a blood alcohol content higher than 0.15. That's nearly double the legal limit of 0.08. The bill would also expand treatment programs. Wisconsin would still be the only state where a first offense drunken driving is a traffic offense. It would only become a criminal offense under the bill if there's a child in the car.
We like to look at it that we take a common sense approach to this.
John Steno is the vice president of the Brown County Tavern League. He says the state needs to target repeat offenders, not social drinkers.
The style of the person that we want to be taken off the road is the one that is chronically, repeatedly doing that, and that's where they should really target.
Paul and Judy Jenkins say getting tough on repeat offenders is good, but it's not good enough.
What is being discussed most frequently, Judy and I would tell you that they're nibbling around the edges.
They want to see a first offense made a crime. They point to a 2003 study from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation that showed 75% of the drunken drivers involved in fatal and serious injury crashes were first-time offenders.
So we're trying to intervene before they get in the car, to have people stop and think before drinking and driving.
The Jenkins also would like to see sobriety checkpoints legalized, and they're not alone. So would Green Bay Police Chief Jim Arts.
This is a good tool for law enforcement and a good tool to make our roads safer. And if that's the catalyst that helps keep drivers off the road, I'm all for it.
According to a study from the Centers for Disease Control, sobriety checkpoints reduce alcohol-related crashes by 20%. Wisconsin is one of just 12 states in the country that do not allow sobriety checkpoints. But judging by the legislators we spoke with, don't expect to see sobriety checkpoints anytime soon in Wisconsin.
Sobriety checkpoints are something that my constituents at least have spoken, saying they're not interested in.
Republican State Senator Alan Lissay says he'd like to see tougher penalties for first-time offenders, but he does not support sobriety checkpoints.
It's nice to say that we're going to crack down on drunk driving, but this country is based on individual freedoms. And I'd be very cautious about that.
The Tavern League is also adamantly opposed to the idea.
We feel that you're targeting the first-time offender, rather than concentrating on where the problem is.
Paul and Judy Jenkins say they're concerned lawmakers will take some action now and won't do anything else about drunken driving for years.
They can say, look what we've done after if and when it's passed. Look what we've done, and our big fear then is then years will go by before they will do anything again, because they can pound their chests and say, well, we did this big thing.
Back in the 2009-2010 session.
Nelson says the current reform is just the beginning.
To those who say that this does not go far enough, I'll be very clear that this is not the end, that this is something that future legislatures, and perhaps this legislature next year, should look at again and again and ask ourselves, how can we improve upon?
Either way, police say laws themselves won't change anything. It's people who need to change.
I can enforce drunk driving laws all day long. Every agency, all of our officers can enforce drunk driving laws all day long. Until we change people's mindset, until we change a culture, we are not going to be very effectively addressing drunk driving in the state of Wisconsin.
There has been some progress when it comes to reducing drunken driving. The number of fatal drunken driving crashes in Wisconsin last year was actually down 34% from the previous year. Only Vermont and Maine had a bigger percentage decrease. Nationwide, drunken driving fatalities were down 10%. The exact cause of the drop is not known. Law enforcement officers say they hope it's due to more awareness of drunken driving, but some say it may be due in part to fewer drivers being on the road because of high gas prices and the economy. Robert Hornacek, Fox 11 News.